Hey guys, welcome to another episode 70 something, 79, right? We're almost reaching 80.
Yep.
79 of 4PlayAnimecast. It is the 21st of October 2017. Second episode of the fall 2017 season. And I have with me my usual... Oh, I should probably introduce myself, right? Yeah, I'm Spire. Hi guys. Anyways,
Hi.
here's my... I'm being polite by introducing my co-host first. Anyways, here's my co-host, Dark.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
He's a person, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
what
here
have you
too.
been up to recently?
A few things. Been keeping up with everything pretty much that I started with. I also found out that I gotta get a new mic, dude. I listened to myself the other day for the first time in a long time, and I thought this mic sounded good, and this mic sounds fucking awful.
It sounds a little bit fuzzy, I think.
It's really rough. I don't know if it's actually like breaking because this is like a decently old headset, like 4 years at this point, I think. But yeah, I gotta get a new one. Because this ain't working.
Yeah, you'll just have to say about that. Anyways.
As far as new things, I started watching the Goro anime, new one, Vanishing Line.
Yeah, that one.
I definitely do want to cover that in the future. It's first episode was really cool. Big American Man. I like it. Though it does make me question what bridge that they show in the show because
Golden Gate.
It looks like the Golden Gate Bridge, but it takes place in New York. Golden Gate Bridge is not in New York. It's like a red version of the Queensboro, and I'm like, the Queensboro is not fucking red.
Well, Golden Queensboro Bridge.
Yeah. But so that show's fun. Anime of the season is Mahotsukai no Yome. I started watching that, and I've kept up with it, and it's really, really fucking.
Pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that one's definitely. I mean, unless it did a complete like Kino kind of thing, it's a very safe pick. Like I don't.
Well, even what's it called for episode 2 was significantly better. I was going to say as well. Kino. I wanted to know what Nier thought of it. So we'll have to get his input on that. But it was Kino episode 2 was a. I didn't watch episode 3 yet, but Kino episode 2 was a much more gray episode morally, because Kino does something where you're like, that you did something that is actually harming a significant number of pretty innocent people.
Right.
So there is a lot more gray in there, which is cool. I just wish it was a little bit less episodic. I hope that they do get into that where the show, because I think this might be 24 episodes if I'm not mistaken, or if I'm not insane. I might be.
I have to see, but I think it is.
Yeah. But if it is, I hope that they do start getting into like longer episodes. I also hope that they don't do a killing by episode like 3, because I haven't seen 3 yet. But episode 1 and 2, minor spoilers, is that someone does die in each episode.
Is it Kino?
Someone does get Kino's dead. Yeah. So that's something. The audio visuals were a lot better in episode 2. I thought at least they showed less of the CG because the bike really did. Like the bike was in it, but her riding the bike really. The
bike is now more of a meme than it is like an actual sort of like obvious, consistent problem in the anime.
Does she do the Akira bike thing?
What is that? I haven't seen Akira like ever. Actually, I've never actually seen it.
You know that famous bike shot where she slides along the ground?
Oh no, not yet. Probably will. But yeah, so that was my week.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I also watched Inuyashiki.
Okay.
That is also pretty cool. Old man, robot, cool concepts, pretty cool world building so far by episode 1. Hope it can keep it up.
Okay. Alright, at least that's good. And here's the other co-host, since Nier is dead, Toast.
What's up?
So, how have you been doing recently, and what have you been up to in terms of anime or manga or whatever?
I watched The Foreigner with my family. That was a cool show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cool movie. It's the Jackie Chan movie where it's like Taken, except his daughter's dead, and he wants
Yeah,
revenge.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
that's-
more like law-abiding citizen.
It's like it's like Jackie Chan's first quote unquote serious film.
In the West, probably. He's been
Yeah.
doing more serious films in Chinaland more often.
Jackie
Yeah.
Chan's done serious films before. They've just had a lot of comedic,
This one
like,
doesn't have any comedy
Comedic
at
martial
all.
arts.
yeah, comedic stuff too.
It's got
no, this
old
one-
man monkey
very
martial
serious.
arts beating up Scottish terrorists.
Well, this is the first time where he's gone like full sort of, not like the obvious Chinese acrobatics sort of style, but much more like, even if that style is also slightly fake, like Matt Damon, like Bourne Ultimatum kind of style, right? It's the first time he's sort of done that, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it. He still does have it still does retain like the quote unquote. Well, I could say like high flying acrobatics because you've seen like shots of him like leaping from buildings.
I'm
sliding
pretty
down
sure he still
poles
does
and
that
stuff
in
like
this
that.
movie.
No, yeah, he does. Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's 60 years old. He's falling off roofs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jackie Chan, are you okay?
He already has a hole in his head.
Where's Rush Hour 5?
Oh, God, he's like I think he was like talking in an interview about like how you want to do another Rush Hour before he grew too old or something like that. I was like, you're already an old man. Stop, don't do this to yourself.
This was makeup. It was makeup.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan is forever doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't like about this movie. I can see it, and I'm like, Jackie Chan's old. I don't like this.
Yeah.
This is the way it's supposed to be.
He is becoming the sensei
How
now.
old is Chris Tucker now?
And also old.
Yeah, also very, very old. But anyways, in actual anime land, what have you been watching?
I marathon like 62 episodes of Hajime no Ippo. It was pretty cool.
Jesus fucking Christ. Anything else? Anything else? Anything this season? Oh god, Data Live light novels get new anime series. Why?
What are you doing? This isn't weeks.
Sorry, keep going.
Hold on. What are you talking
Don't
about?
spoil the news.
Shut up. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. I also watched. Speaking of Chinese cartoons, I watched the first episode of Spirit Blade Mountain.
What the fuck?
And
Did you?
that's made by Howliners, who also did Centaur's Worries, and they're making Evil or Live this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there. He told me to talk about something this season. There. I watched
Okay.
Evil or Live.
Yeah, so again, you're gonna be probably just talk about that a little bit.
It's about Chinese internment camps.
No, not internment camp. Internet camp.
Internment camps too, Kappa.
There's no such thing.
Did you know internment camp is one letter off of internet camp?
Let's.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No, it's two.
Just take off
No,
the L.
it's 2 letters. The
Two letters.
internet.
Anyways, let's not talk about internment camps and let's move on. As for me, I've been kind of
Speaking
off
of
and
World
on.
War II,
Shut the fuck. Shut up. All right. So I've been as for me, I've been kind of on and off watching, doing a little bit. I skimmed very briefly some other stuff, such as Konohana Kitan. I skimmed just because episode 1, but I do really want to keep watching it just because.
just because what?
Because. Just because.
Just because what?
It seems like an appealing series, but Blend S I kind of watched, but then I'm not sure if I fully want to commit to it. And I kept up with both Netoju no Susume, which is I believe the English title for it is like the recovery of a 30-year-old MMO junkie or something like that. It's something
Is
weird.
that the one that's with the old lady?
The old lady?
Old
she 30
lady,
years
she's
old?
30 years old and she is in her prime.
Yeah.
She's cute.
She's a 30-year-old
Cute.
OL.
Cute.
She's an elite neat. I also watched that show though.
Jesus. And then
Is it because
what was
it's
I gonna
relatable?
what was I gonna say? The other one I watched, of course. I also did watch one episode of this with Dark. We just didn't do like a live reaction of it, but it was Anime Guitaris, and I also kept up with that one. But I'll talk about a little bit more about that later. But yeah. So it's been a little bit of here and there, just a little bit. Finger in like a couple of different pies, but we'll see how it goes.
You've been dipping your fingers into many sinister soups.
Soups. I guess that's a saying, but sure.
You don't know where that's from?
Isn't it pies? The fingers in pies? They're not soups, right?
You don't watch Venture Bros?
No.
Okay, Spire, what do you watch that's not anime or Chinese?
Oh, I don't watch. I mean, I usually don't like watch a lot of things. Period, because I end up reading stuff.
Have you seen The Room made by Tommy Wiseau?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen the Power Rangers movie?
No. Wait, where is this conversation
What's happening right now?
My chest. Fuck. Also, sorry if I'm like randomly saying my chest sometimes. I'm having like random chest pains. It's not like a heart thing, but it's like I just strained something. But anyways, we'll move on. The first thing I do want to cover is, of course, what Dark has been kind of talking on and off, both in the podcast and out, for a couple of weeks now. Is Konohana Kitan. So do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, but first, the podcast has to issue an apology to Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker is actually not old. Not only is he not old, he's much younger than Jackie Chan. He's
Well, yeah,
only
no, I accepted
46.
that, but
He's 46. Like he's like
he's not 50 yet.
like he's almost middle aged, but like he's not even 50
no,
yet.
he's middle aged,
like,
but he's not 50s.
He
Yeah,
can't
he's
be
not
middle
but he's not
aged
even
until
like
he's 50.
gray. Like Chris Tucker is actually not old at all, really.
Yeah.
Oops.
Shout out to Chris Tucker.
Shout
Please
out to
make
Chris
Rush Hour
Tucker.
5.
Chris Tucker, make Rush Hour 5 be on the podcast.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Chris Tucker's going to announce Rush Hour 5 on podcast.
Anyways, you want to keep going with Konohana Kitan now?
Yeah, so Konohana Kitan features voice talent from Chris Tucker. No.
Does he voice?
Okay.
Does he voice the lolly?
Which one?
Nice.
So Konohana Kitan is I'm trying to think of where I should start. So the premise of the show is that like you have almost a I'm trying to think of what world to compare it to. Like as far as the world goes, it's set up to where it's supposed to be I want to say bridge between like a spirit world and like regular world.
Yeah,
But
it's
humans,
like
no.
it's like the whole like spiritual boundary thing that Asian people really like. You know, like
Yeah.
it's the boundary between life and death. You know, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Parallel world.
Well, no, it's not barrier between life and death. It's like you can just go here.
No, boundary. What I'm saying, it's like some sort of weird foggy boundary land. And then
Yeah.
you can kind of,
So it's like Silent Hill.
Kind of, but you can go and leave.
yeah.
You can actually get out.
It's not a horror game.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the premise of the world itself. So you have these wacky, like yokai-ish monsters, monster people, but they're not really monsters. Like you'll have
It's
like
more
an
like
Oni.
Spirited Away kind of stuff.
Yeah, you'll have like an Oni. You'll have like a Cyclops guy, but they're not like monsters. They're like regular people. And so basically, what the show centers around is a hotel, called. I know the hotel has Konohana in its name, but I forgot what else it has on it. I forget what the full name of the hotel is. But basically, you have this big hotel that these only Fox girls work at under a actual like Fox older like Fox woman. That's like a full Fox essentially.
Right. It's
and
mainly based around two Fox girls, I think.
No, actually, it's not. It in the first two episodes sets you up with the quote unquote main character Yuzu, but it is very episodic in that the first two episodes are focused on Yuzu and I'm not remembering her name. Spire, help me out. The purple haired one.
The purple hair.
Okay, regardless. So there's a purple haired fox girl, and I forget what the hell her name is. Toast, take that picture off. I've seen it. But yeah, so the purple-haired one, if you're watching or you see the image, you'll know who it is.
She says Satsuki, I think. Satsuki.
Yes, Satsuki. There you go.
Yeah.
So basically, they're set up as sort of like the two main characters, like the main pairing in the first two episodes. But, well, actually, no, because the first episode explores another character as well, and then the third episode explores the tomboy and the carrot character. So it is actually seems to be more episodic based on that, and they might break away from the main pairing, quote, as you might suspect it at first. So that's kind of the premise, is that they meet customers and stuff like that.
They deal with the problems. It's sort of like, again, it's sort of like this daily sort of slice of life kind of thing, but focuses a little bit more on the slower character development rather than just the interactions. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much the basic breakdown of the show. So I think
are you
first,
liking it?
I'm liking it a lot, especially after episode 3. It like I regained my confidence in it. So to start off, I guess going with audio visuals would probably be cover, because actually this show is also done by the same studio that's doing this season. This show, yeah, Lurche, Studio Lurche.
Indeed.
Yeah, and so the major thing about this is that episode 1 of this show has like really good audio visuals, like well above average audio.
Yeah,
visuals,
it's very
especially
solid.
audio.
Lurche, previously known for doing stuff like one good thing that they did was Magicoi, and I believe they also worked on the second season of Data Live, which actually ended up being pretty cool. Well done.
No, it wasn't.
What? The second? Sorry, it was the first one. The second one was done by ATX Animations or whatever it was, right?
Season 1 had an art style that closely resembled Tsunako's art style. Second one tried, but
the second one was a bad one. It was done by AIC. Second one was done by AIC. The first one was done by Lurche. Excuse me. Go on. But Lurche known for being very solid overall. But anyways, go on. Dark.
Yeah. So I guess the issue here is probably like this seems to be the show that Lurche spent their money on, at least for episode 1 and 3.
At least for episode 1.
No, 1 and 3. And 3.
Oh, 1 and 3.
3 comes back. Yeah, we'll get there. So like it doesn't have CG, or well, it does in certain places, but not nearly as apparent as Kino's, and it just looks and sounds better than Kino, which is weird. Like the audio in this show, especially in episode 1, I can't really stress enough, is like it's a very like it sounds like it's been done by a live orchestra, and they're going real far with it in episode 1. It seemed like it dips later on for the audio. Episode 2 especially has a little bit less, but the audio is still solid. Sounds better than most things, but what really happens with this show is that for some reason in episode 2, the visuals of the show take a major dip. I would go so far as to say that
specifically, how would you say it takes a dip? I think you need to be specific here. Yeah,
that's true. That is true. So what happens is that the art of the show itself remains about the same. The actual character design and everything doesn't like really change. They do add in a comedic simplified art style.
Which is like standard. Yeah,
it's standard and it works, and it actually works better in episode 3, but they use a lot of it in episode 2 is the problem. Like in places when they really shouldn't have. But episode 3 takes that and enhances it even further. The major problem with episode 2 is that even when they have the art of the characters be the basic art style and regular and looking good, there are a significant number of scenes that are legitimately just not animated. Like there are a lot of scenes that are just stills. So you'll get, like the scrolling shot of like the shrine maiden dancing in front of the shrine with the cherry blossom. And all the art looks nice, but it's not animated. So it seems really out of place when you have this, like these scenes that last for minutes at a time that are just don't have animation. And they're just scrolling, like the camera is the only thing that's animated essentially.
Right.
Normally, you could have those scenes intercut throughout stuff, and it looks fine, or for a montage. But when a almost majority of the episode is taken up by that, or a
Yeah,
significant
it's
portion
like
of it,
it's just
not a
like
majority.
PowerPoint at some points.
Yeah, it starts to be like, well, am I watching a show, or is this just like a visual novel? Like, I don't know what's going on here. That was a problem. The animation itself, though, in certain points, does actually take a dip. There are a few scenes that just don't have frames where they should, and it like fades into itself, even though it shouldn't. Like, it's a slow motion shot, but it's not. There's also like walking animations that go on for too long from one angle, that are very clearly just still characters bobbing up and down. So that was strange. The fortunate part, though, is that all of that goes away in episode 3 somehow. Like, it's just,
it comes,
it's
or rather,
weird.
you say it comes back. Stuff comes.
What
back.
do you mean it comes back?
Or like, it's sort of the quality like comes back.
Oh yeah. The quality comes back. Like, all the issues go away. Like, they go back to episode 1 essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Music becomes. I mean, the music in episode 2 wasn't bad either. The music was actually really good. But in episode 3, they keep that. The comedic art style remains, but it actually is in scenes that it fits and it makes sense, and it's only in a handful. And they have characters on screen that are not in that art style that are also being animated. So there's a lot going on still visually in episode 3. And they don't. I don't believe they actually have even a still shot in episode 3 like they did in episode 2, which is really interesting. So it's weird because this is clearly not something that they did do to just get their foot in the door and just move on and like try and bait people into watching the show essentially. Because they come back with it and it's like here it is, it's better. Like,
they just had some weird fumble, but nobody knows why.
Yeah, like who the hell knows? Like they might have been like, this episode really, like, this is the episode that we can skim. Like, we can skim some off of this episode. Because the episode itself, episode 2, without getting too much into the story, does allow for that to be less offensive than like something that was more active. Like, it wasn't a very active episode to begin with. So that was good and fine. Not episode 2, but then episode 3, taking it back, was good and fine. So that was nice to see that they were actually bringing it back, and this wasn't like a show that was like, episode 1's good, episode 2 dips. But you're already watching, so keep watching. So if you do wind up watching it, don't let that dissuade you when you get to episode 2, because it does come back and get better. Trying to think of something else, where to move on from there, because there definitely was something. Spire, help me watch this.
I mean, you mean like just about the series overall? Or,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's so it has good foundations. So that's what I'll like start off with. Is like the interactions, like the formula itself is not like a super like faulty one, right? Like, you're gonna have these interactions, and then they're gonna make mistakes like while managing the inn or whatever, and this stuff's gonna happen. Cute fox girls, etc., right? But I need to still see where exactly like these interactions or these developments are gonna go. Like, obviously they might, like, it's a significant possibility, but not like a certain one, that they're gonna face some huge drama, like the inn shutting down or some bullshit like that, right? And they're gonna have to deal with it. And I would like to sort of know that I would like to sort of just
know where the interactions are going to end up.
Well,
Like,
that would
if
be a
there's-
little bit too
if-
greedy of me, right? It would be me just being like, yeah, just give me, like, while I'm fucking lying down, just feed the grapes to me, kind of thing, right?
Well, yeah,
But,
but
yeah.
I mean, like, that they will go somewhere.
Yeah,
like, sure.
I want to make sure that they will develop into something more significant. It's like so the characters will become a little bit more than just like, oh, we're gonna deal with it, haha. You know, we deal with it. We're nice people, stuff like that. It's like I want them to go maybe like one step further in terms of developing the characters.
I'm guessing you have not seen episode 3, have you?
I've not seen episode 3 yet.
Okay, episode 3 does a very, very, very good job at that, I feel. It gives a lot of development to, if you're watching characters in the center, one is, I don't want to say Nanaha, but they call her Nana-chan thing, Nanachi. And then the other character is Ren, the pink-haired character. So basically the tomboy and the pink-haired character, I'll just call him at this point. They get a lot of development with each other in that episode, to the point where by the end of the episode, it's established that they're in a relationship.
Oh, like, really?
Yes. By the end of the episode, they are in a relationship.
Spoilers, by the way. Yeah, sorry.
Well, I mean, it's not really a spoiler. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, they're the pairing.
It's more or less obvious. Yeah.
It's obvious, but watching a show, I mean, any anime, when you get like a Yuri type show to begin with,
that is true. It
is questionable on whether or not they're going to be like, are these characters actually in a relationship or not?
Or are they just like kind of hamming it up for everybody?
Yeah. Or is it like, you know, the anime is going to play with it, is going to be like, will they, won't they bullshit. It's like, no, they are very much like, it's not yelled in your face,
right?
But there is so much context to what they're doing that you're like, by the end of it, they both are in that relationship, whether they will say they are officially, in the future or not.
They just kind of look at each other and blush, kind of thing, right?
No, not even that. Like, they legitimately deny other like partners and love interests for each other, and essentially establish their feelings for each other by the end of the episode. I mean, they both know during the episode, but by the end, they basically tell the viewer, like, yeah, they're actually, like, this is actually a thing. It's not just, like, friendship or us playing or, like, teasing you or anything like that.
Right, it's not just like, sort of, like, softer fan service.
Yeah, like, this isn't just, that's actually a good way to describe it. Like, it's not just fan service. This is actually a relationship.
It's not just like it's not like they're kind of trying to pull like a Yuri where they're like, haha, they're like, guys.
Yeah, Yuri does it a lot. Where they're like, hey guys, well, they won't. Are they not? I don't know.
But I'm pretty sure they are, because like the author was giving out these marriage certificates with certain characters on them.
That's bullshit, though. That's just like that's not real, dude. That's fake. That's fucking nonsense. But I don't want to shit. Like, I don't want to shit on that, because it's like, I mean, I think it's silly. Someone might like it, but I think that you can't say that a show's characters are affected by meta stuff like that, because they sell. Like, if you're going to say that, then you go so far as to say something like
Did you know Dumbledore?
Wedding dress like figure, or wedding dress like body pillows of, I think Holo has one, and like Makoto has one, and stuff like that. You could say like, oh well, you know, Makoto's not into Toma because I have a body pillow of her in a wedding dress. So obviously, I mean, like, you can't really say that meta like merchandise like that ties into the show.
But what about that dude who married Fate?
He married the whole game of Fate?
Yeah, he literally married the Fate.
He married Fate Testarossa from Nanoha. Isn't he legally married to her and the franchise now?
I
don't think that's a thing. If it is, that's a very expensive purchase.
What about that chick who married a bridge? Or was it a roller coaster?
Let's move on.
But yeah, regardless, there are relationships in the show. They're real, and so that actually to me is one of the more enjoyable parts. Me personally, I'm never seeking out Yuri. I'm like,
yeah, you have been one of the people who have been more like vocal against Yuri, like in sort of almost inherently not being very like interactive, or
That
rather,
is-
not interactive,
hold
but rather
on.
the
Hold-
interaction.
Are you saying that you don't like the love between a woman and another woman?
That's inaccurate.
Totally.
That's inaccurate, and I explained this in Spire once because what had happened that night when I was vocal against Yuri was that we were talking about dojins earlier on, and I thought the entire time
He's like,
we were
I fucking
still
hate
talking
homosexuals.
about that.
No, I'm kidding.
No, but
No, I'm kidding.
Yuri dojins are boring as fuck. So I was like, yeah, Yuri's boring when we were talking
Yeah.
about it later on.
Yeah.
That said, though, I do think that from Yuri things that I have seen, which I personally have not seen many Yuri
There's a
shows.
lot of times there's a more static structure. That's
Yeah.
just because of
When-
the culture.
When the headliner for your show is that, hey guys, Yuri, that to me I feel like is a dangerous territory where it's not really going to work out well.
What was that one
Yeah,
show?
when they expect you to get it just by you saying, "Oh, Yuri, guys."
Oh,
Yeah,
so-
like Yuri Yuri's headliner is not the Yuri, even though it's in the title. It's the comedy. It's like
Yeah.
that is what carries it.
What
Yuri is just like an afterthought. Well,
what
not an
about
afterthought.
Sakura Trick? Isn't Yuri in the title of that?
I never watched the best anime of the year that year, so
Hey,
I
fuck off,
can't
guys.
Really, I can't really say.
It was worth it. It was worth every episode, guys. Come on. But anyways, any last words for Konohana Kitan?
As far as I don't really have anything, I guess, else to say about it. I hope this show's longer than it's supposed to be. I think it is listed as a 12 episode, and I think actually Kino is too. I wish this wasn't, or I hope this gets another season because I want them to be able to really explore these characters.
I don't know if it'll get another season, but I hope they just conclude it well.
Yeah, I hope. Well, I mean, yeah. In a perfect world for me, I'd also get a good second season. Can't have everything, but I do want to see them both explore these characters and explore Yuzu, who is part, and Yuzu and Satsuki, who are the main pairing.
Right.
If you want to call them that, because there's a lot of things with Yuzu that they introduce in episode 1 that isn't in episode 2, and obviously not in 3 because she's not really.
I hope they don't. I kind of what I also kind of want is I hope they don't. I know it's a little bit selfish of me, but I hope they don't rely too much on sort of background flashbacks.
Yeah, in episode 3 they were guilty of that as well, though. But they do have a really nice art style for the flashbacks, and it's not that long. So, but yes, I would agree with that very much. I hope that they do flashbacks, but I think they will. For at least the next
it's like the easier thing to do because it's like, oh, there's a new facet, and it comes from her being an orphan or some other bullshit, right?
Yeah,
but
it's like, why is she afraid of this? Because this happened when she was a kid.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like, why is she afraid of fighting? Because the Nazis came when she was young. It's like, whoa, okay, calm down.
Shit.
All right then. But,
so that's something. As a little thing for episode 3, keep you guys on your toes. There is something that happens with Yuzu that is also really not shocking, but pleasantly surprising for a character to do in anime that is normally not really done. Kind of took me by surprise that this happened. And I hope that I see more of it. Because she shows herself to be a real human being at the end of the day.
Unlike, just like Amelia from ReZero.
Just like Amelia
from ReZero, excuse me.
What was it?
Emily from ReZero.
Emily from ReZero. More on that. On that note.
Yeah, but thank you so much for providing the quick rundown on Konohana Kitan. And on that note, on the topic of ReZero, we are going to move over to what I watched, or at least what I want to cover for this week, which is Anime Gataris. That is exactly how it is, like shown in the title, Anime Gataris. It is a series I forget who is made by, but it is made by the same studio essentially who did a lot of meme stuff. Like it did Cockroach Girl, also known as Kokicha, and it also did the infamous Hametsu no Mars, or many of you might know it in English, Mars of Destruction. So
Is that the
you
one?
already
Is that the one with the giant cockroach people?
No, that's
no,
Terraform Mars. Mars
that's
of
their
Oh,
Destruction.
whoops.
Mars Destruction is the one
Has
where
roots
they're
in
like,
Japan.
you are the you are the Martians all along. Oh Jesus. Anyways, so you knew already it could be potentially like the greatest series of all time, right? Just from hearing that, right? The audio visuals are surprisingly like okay. It's not like terrible or anything like that. The story itself is a very quick summary. Is a girl opens up an anime club with an
On
ojo-sama who is
Mars?
what?
On Mars?
Yes, on Mars.
Nice.
The girl opens up a anime club, or like, I don't know whether it's like a viewing club or just like a talking kind of stuff club with an ojo-sama who is surprisingly a hidden otaku.
Wow, is
And
this gamers?
let me cover that. You bring up a very good point, Toad. Let me cover that in a bit. um, with the Ojo-sama, the girl gathers a whole bunch of eccentric club members, and they start discussing anime and stuff like that. And then meanwhile, there's also like this weird, I guess, comedic backplot where it's like they also have to save the world or something like that. They also have to like prevent the anime club from getting shut down. It's all crazy stuff, but the main point is they like talk about anime, manga, light novel kind of stuff. So let's get right to it. The only really important part again is the anime, discussion thing, right? Like the sort of the meta part of it, and how well do they do it at that? So let me set my expectations first, like sort of the background. In these sorts of series, what do I want from these series? Well, I want a couple of things. I want obviously initially knowledge of stuff, right? Like, and you have to display / demonstrate that you have knowledge of the stuff. So it can't. So stuff like Umaru, where they're like, I'm tapping buttons, and there's a game on the screen that's a fighting game. Like that's not that impressive to me, right? Because it's like anybody can make everybody has knowledge of like two dudes whacking at each other, and it's like, oh, that's a fighting game because they're fighting. Like that's not, or like a racing game. There's a car and you're driving it on the screen. Like that's not demonstrating that you have specific knowledge of sort of this like pop culture, this like gaming culture, or whatever. So specificity is very important to me when they're making these sort of reference-based, meme-based series. Second point is that in addition to doing this, they have to be able to sort of discuss and talk about it, and not just like trivia. So this is where a lot of series, I think, tend to fall off. So what'll happen is that in I guess the most obvious recent example is Gamers, where everybody's just like, oh, it points out games and stuff like that, blah 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 blah. And the issue is that Gamers has a flaw of just kind of pointing out stuff, or just like, oh, here's stuff. So a very sort of saddening and obvious example was that one episode where I believe the student council president was talking to a whole bunch of girls, and the girls were dressed exactly like the characters from another anime called Seitokai no Ichison, also known as The Discretion of the Student Council, right? So that is like, oh, I recognize it. Like, it's a thing that they pointed out, but they didn't do anything with it. They're just like, oh, they're just doing it, and then the student council president was like, oh, I got to go do something, and then they just cut to another scene. So that honestly was super disappointing, right? Because like all they did was like, hey, here's a thing, like, or whatever. Or another example was the obvious example from like episode 1, right, where they were like, okay, hey, here's the girl who likes playing fighting games, and then she's playing Guilty Gear on the console, which is an anime-based fighting game. Yeah, it's an anime-based fighting game, but then they just cut away and like didn't really elaborate on anything like that, and that's also sort of very disappointing. Obviously, later in that series, they had a scene where as Dark knows, they like two people played a fighting game, and then they're like, oh, some new mistakes that a fighting game newbie makes, or some of these, blah, blah. And that was pretty cool. Like, I appreciated that. But a super majority of the things pointed out in gamers was very much sort of a listing, enumeration. They were not elaborating on the subjects being discussed. They were just like, oh, do you like Mario Kart? Here's Mario Kart, or Kart of Mario, or like whatever like meme like spinoff that they did, like, right? Or like, here's the game of life, haha. But they didn't really go further in actually referencing it or describing it or anything. They just like, they're like, here it is. They just presented it. And again, that's very disappointing to me. So I would like people to see people, yeah, exactly. So Pierce in chat says name drop some video games and then get back to relationships and drama. That's the thing. It's like if you're basing a series around a specific theme of video games or anime or whatever, you should probably discuss that. That should probably be a thing that your characters talk about, right? Like how if we were like an anime, like since we're an anime podcast, we talk about anime. We're not like, hey, we know what Attack on Titans is, and then we just fucking like talk about our lives. Like that's not how this podcast works, and that's not how an anime about anime or games should work. So that's the second point. And the third point, and this is a little bit more of a bonus thing and an optional thing, but I believe one or two series that I've sort of seen have kind of reached this level of like being really good with these sorts of thematic discussions, is they need to start making humor or like sort of jokes or like interweave their dialogue with references to this. So the classic example I always bring up is Nyaruko. Nyaruko, or also the full name is Hayori Nyaruko-san, is makes these sorts of like references. Like the writer like has these references from stuff like Sentai to like very recent like series like The World God Only Knows, whatever. But the author, the writer, the scriptwriter, whatever, are going to go further. What they're, for instance, again, the classic example that I bring up is a scene where one of the girls in Yaruko-san says to the main character, "Okay, if we have, it's like a rom-com situation, and it's like, okay, if you have a child, we're gonna name it Kuroko, and if it's a daughter, we'll send her to Academy City, and if it's a son, we'll teach him basketball." And that's clearly a reference to like Kuroko as in Kuroko no Basket, if it's a boy, and Kuroko as in the girl in the Railgun / Index series in Academy City. And that's a genuinely funny joke if you know it, because it's a reference and you're making a joke out of the name. Like, that's smart. That's smart writing. And that's really what I would like to see on more and more in these sorts of referential writing, because people can make jokes. Anime can be funny, and these writers know plenty about anime references and stuff. So there should be very little obstacle to using the humor, using the references to kind of mix it together and have a fun time. But I just don't see a lot of anime series really putting in the effort, and that's really kind of saddening to me. So that's sort of my evaluation matrix. Sorry if I kind of went on a long rant there. But as for how Anime Gatari's sort of stands on that scale, I guess before I kind of elaborate a little bit more, I'll give you guys a little bit more time. Dark, in terms of like evaluating how Anime Gatari does its references, what do you think?
So I didn't watch episode 2, but I did see a slightly more extended scene from episode 2 where they're discussing some shows.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see a little, like I think you covered, where it's like I want to see a little bit more. I'll like get a little bit deeper. However, it's more than I expected because I did have low expectations, but I do want to see more. I do, however, I'm not sure if they were conscious of it or not, The problem is that there's also a culture barrier here because I don't know how anime clubs are in Japan. In fact, I don't really know how anime is really treated that much in Japan. As far as like, what's it like to be a high schooler in Japan that watches anime?
I mean, I think it's relatively normal as long as you don't go like spreading it around or whatever, right? It's like there are people that read, adult. Yeah, it's probably like adult, or young fiction, like teen novel kind of stuff. But it's like with anime, right? Like as long as you don't do it like too obviously or too seriously, people are just gonna be like, oh yeah, whatever, kind of stuff like that, maybe. But yeah.
Either way,
yeah.
The main thing I'm touching on here is that like there's a lot of strange commonalities between the way an anime club works in the States. No matter where I have been, or really many of the people I've talked to, it's like if you have an anime club that is like of random people and not of like, because an anime club in my school personally was just kind of like only the like Asian people in our school, and they were the only people who
just like, let's watch Clannad.
No, you see, they actually watched things. But when you get like a general anime club that isn't kind of more of just a group of friends that know each other of a very similar demographic, you kind of get the thing like you just brought up where it's like, oh, let's watch Clannad, or oh, let's watch Oran High School Host Club for the 17th time, or let's watch Hitalia for the 13th time this year. And that was something where I was like, oh, maybe they'll touch on that. However, I don't know if in episode 2 it was intentional in that conversation or not. But they, like, the way they talk about the shows does seem to be that sort of like bullshit that you would encounter in something like that. Not obviously a situation that's in the States, but in like a situation where you have this anime club that's like not really talking about anything important, and they're just mentioning things that are points in the show that just kind of don't matter. Like when they were like, oh, what makes a classic anime? And someone's just like,
recreators.
Yo, in every classic anime, there's like some psychological thing in the main character barfs. That's why the classical anime from this season's Re:Zero. And I was like, okay, so I don't know if they're just saying that as a funny joke or if they're actually saying that to shit on all the people that actually do that.
So I really, really agree with what you said. So it's like that's why I keep saying like so I kept like annoying Dark actually while I watched episode 2 because like I just kept saying like they need to go one more step. They just need to go one more step, just a little bit more, because it's like they like say these things that are like, oh, it's like they just kind of say these things that maybe you would hear somebody say like in an anime club or something like that, right? Like, what's a classic anime like? And then they kind of like talk a little bit more in detail about like, oh, I think some classic anime have things where it's like the half the cast dies or whatever, stuff like that, right? And then like they start talking about like what is it? It's like they're like, oh, have you seen Re:Zero? You gotta watch this or watch it at when it live air, stuff like, or when it's live, whatever, stuff like that. And they say all this, but a lot of times, with the exception to like one part, well, that I'll discuss a little bit later, they're kind of just like throwing up these things, and they're kind of like elaborating a little bit more on it, but not enough for me to be like, wow, that was sort of like a comment that like not only would real sort of like anime people say, but it's sort of part of a real sort of discussion. It's like part of the theme. It's like oh, what do people think when they're watching anime, stuff like that. It's really kind of digging into that. It's not exactly at that point yet.
Yeah, it's like teetering on the edge, and you're like, I can't tell if you know
what you're talking about.
What you're talking about, and
or
this
whether
is
you
just
just
a
say
joke.
Rue Zero or Melancholy of a Happy Flute or whatever it is.
Yeah, or if you're just throwing like shit out there, and that's
Yeah.
genuinely how you're going to like do this.
Yeah. So there was one exception again that I mentioned, which was when they started. The two girls, the Ojo-sama and the glasses girl, started arguing about whether um it was better to read the original adaptation and then read the original like light novel or whatever and then watch the anime, or whether it was just better to kind of like stick with the anime's interpretation or stuff like that, right? And that was pretty creative because they talked really about things that we even sort of talked about, although they didn't really talk about it in super detail, but they talked about it at quite some length, and then they kind of just ended it with everybody has their own perspectives and stuff like that, right? And that was pretty creative, but I want to see a little bit more of that. I want to see a little bit less of just people being like, "Oh, have you seen Haruhi and Rue Zero and blah 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 blah."
Have you seen Full Metal Panic, the best
Yeah,
mecha
yeah.
anime ever?
Or no, they make like all these meme things. I told Dark about this one thing where it's like, so bungo stray dogs. Bungo in Japanese is like literary, like the idea, sort of the concept, or the sort of like field. So literary stray dogs, right? And so they were talking about a series. It's like, have you watched Kaka Stray Dogs? Kaka means a painter or like artist or like easel, essentially painting. So they're like making these like meme names off of it. But I would like to see a little bit more than that. If they do go beyond that and start making these sort of reference-based jokes that are really funny, start making a little bit more on the insightful comments, then I really, really think that this will be one of the best shows of the season, bar none. But elsewise, it'll kind of like sink down to like another sort of gamers kind of like Umaru kind of thing. It'll be like one step above it because I think they're leading the discussion on a little bit better. But still, I want them to go one step further if possible. But yeah, that was pretty much my review for Anime Kataris. I do think that people should try to check this out, especially if it does become better. But I mean, especially since it is honestly, I think better than gamers. But still, yeah. We have to wait a little bit to see if it does become a truly great series. Anyways, um, that was pretty much my review. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we move on, Dark?
Yo, how the fuck did the studio make this? How did this studio?
How did Mars of Destruction Studio make this series?
Like that? Like that's the thing. I'm like, yeah, this show's like not that great. It's almost there. It's not terrible. It's almost there. But then I'm like, what is their other works? Mars of Destruction. How did this happen? Like this is like a goddamn masterpiece at this point.
Compared
like,
to exactly.
What? Especially since I don't know about episode 2, but the audio visuals in episode 1 were like surprisingly solid. It uses a lot of like that gag thing with the Ojo-sama calling in her butler, but like there was enough there to where you're like, yeah, there's some decent audio visual for like fairly good. And I personally do like the art of the show, the character design and stuff. I think it's fun.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, how the hell did they do this? And that's where I'll end that.
Yeah, that's me too, honestly. But I hope that the studio does more surprisingly good series in the future, and I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, with that said, we have one last series left. Toast, take it away.
Speaking of Chinese internment camps, I watched Evil or Live, and it's about Chinese intern.
Evil spelled backward is live.
I still don't get what the title means. Like,
I don't think it means anything.
I think it means
genuinely think they realized that people backwards is live.
this.
I know the evil's supposed to be like the internet addiction, whatever. What's the live part? Like, we're gonna beat it out of you so you can live?
Who knows?
Like, to give a little background on what Evil or Live is, based on a real life phenomenon called internet addiction, and it's an epidemic that's happening in China along with other parts of the world.
Well, it raises. I mean, the initial premise. I'm gonna say the very initial premise because it's. I think from what you've said and from what the anime looks like, it's gonna go to other places. But the initial premise is based around the whole like people are growing too sort of distant and kind of apathetic and all these negative things because of the internet, and so there are corrective facilities, right, designed to
Internment
treat
camps.
yeah to fix people.
Detention camps?
Kind
keep
of.
going because they don't find out about it later. So let me finish the fucking. Sorry. So they're like corrective facilities, quote unquote, right? To fix people of their internet addiction and their sort of apathy and their sort of distant thing, and that's like the whole like social commentary that like Tumblr people are gonna fall on, right, and like start talking about, but nobody gives a fuck, right? And then the main character goes to one of these sort of corrective facilities, and then he finds out, as Toe said, it's more of just like a prison slash
It's a
detention camp.
prison school because
Yes.
he's a special case where he's so out of it that he's 17 and he's gonna have no visitors and no like weekends out until he's 18 because he's so far down the rabbit hole. And yeah, like this primarily internet like this internet addiction epidemic comes from like places where there's a lot of internet cafes and whatnot. Like
Yeah.
what internet cafes are, where you pay a certain amount of money and then you can just game there for as long as you want.
Yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of scandalous news about how Chinese, I mean, Asian SEA people in general, Southeast Asian regions have had people that are like dying after playing like 48 hours of games at a piece. But that's, I mean, as as important as the social commentary is, as much as I would like to have a discussion, the anime itself doesn't really go over that, right?
Not
It
yet.
goes straight to sort of the detention camp part or whatever, right?
There, like, 2 episodes are out already, and so far, nothing has been mentioned about how like what they do in those internment camps. Episode 1 is just this dude, like my favorite character, this person who appeared. He's like, I'm a leader of a guild with 10,000 people. I'll kill you if you get in my way. And then he just gets beat up by the instructors. It's great.
Yeah, because you fucking.
I mean,
He's a
I mean,
dork.
yeah.
like he's so far out of it that he thinks like no one cares. Like if
Would
you're a
that
leader,
what
100,000 people.
what that makes me question though is like what do you think the what's it called there? Like, are they trying to say that these things might be necessary for some people?
I mean,
No, I mean it's not running a commentary, right? I mean,
I
like
don't think
it
so.
has like a very like thin line. Like at the beginning, it's like as sort of like a almost like troll kind of like bait kind of thing, but it's like clickbait kind of thing. But then the whole like thing, the series is just about how the dude just suffers through the camp,
Probably,
right?
yeah. Like I said, 2 episodes in, there's been no like big. There's been no description of what they do in the camps. It's just they just beat up this dude, and then
It's like Rainbow, but like with internet addiction.
they beat up this dude for like speaking out, and then the next episode, it's like it takes they're all just hanging out in like the middle of the school doing and that's it. Like they're not there's no classes or anything that they've showed so far. It's just they're showing the internal hierarchy of the camp, like saying these guys are disciplinary officers and they're part of the student council or whatever of this school. And that's it.
That's it. What the fuck?
I mean, see, the main character, like he ends up with this guy, this mysterious person named I think Shin. I don't remember his name. And he's supposed to be I guess he's the big boss of the school, where even the the disciplinary instructors listen to him. He's like, I'm gonna hang out with this guy, the main character, and like I'll take him under my wing. Then the instructor's like, okay, it's your funeral, and then they leave him alone after they beat him up. And I guess that person, the main character Shin, and the other important character they showed off is Shiori. She's an acquaintance of the main character from middle school, and he thought that, oh, this person's perfect, and she was the class idol back in middle school. Why is she here in this internet prison camp? But she's a student council in this camp, and so that's about it.
Yeah. So
2 episodes in, I don't know where this story is headed.
That's probably not a good sign.
The only major plot.
So give me like at least a couple of threads on where you think it could go, regardless of
I'm hoping it is a social commentary on, like,
that'll be interesting.
The prison camps. I mean, that's the stuff I like to see.
I'm not sure how likely it is, but yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, that would be very interesting.
I mean,
well, I think if they start showing characters as being like kind of fucked up, I don't know.
It'll take a couple more episodes for social commentary though, because what will happen is that the social commentary will come through this sort of like character introspection / retrospection, right? So they'll introduce a couple more contrasting characters, and then those characters themselves will start running the social commentary train, right?
Kinda.
It won't be like the main characters immediately being like, oh, internet, blah, 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 right? It'll have some other characters that are like sort of like scumbags, or they're like whatever, or they had regrets or whatever, right? And then they'll run the social commentary. It's my guess if they do that, right?
Most of the tone of the series is, here's your MC, and he's a weakling, and he's gonna struggle through this. He has no like big motive that's driving him in this camp so far. All he does is he met Shin, and Shin's like, I'm gonna take you under my wing, and you're gonna call me master, and no one knows what that means yet. The only thing he showed is
I think he became someone's prison bitch is what that means.
Shin has shown the ability that, like, he's the big dog. The instructors will listen to him, and he can get any girl he can get the MC any girl he wants.
He's the hookup. He's the hookup. Is what you're saying?
That was the big point of episode 2. He's like, hey, pick out any girl in the crowd, and like I can get her to hook up with you. And she's like, okay, I pick Shiori. And episode 2 is like, I got this cell phone that I stole from this other chick who smuggled it in, and if you want the cell phone, you have to make the MC a real man. Then it's like the classic gym locked in the gym room scene.
Yes.
Where they do naughty things in there. So like she locks him in with her, and they're about to do it, but then she throws up in his mouth, which is like the best part.
Wait, what?
Why?
Wait, what?
Why?
She's gonna do anything like to get what she wants, which is a phone. For like, we don't know why she wants this phone for whatever reason, and
I would say to probably contact the outside world and get out.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as she touched the MC, she's like, hold on a minute, and she starts retching. She's like, this happens a couple of times, and then, like, when she leans in for the kiss, because the MC, he's like,
wait,
don't
does he barf in it? Does she barf in his mouth?
Yeah. It's like, the moment she kisses him, she barfs in his mouth, and then he's like, bleh. It's like, it's okay, you don't have to do it if you're gonna barf in my mouth. And I'm like,
what? What did this turn into?
I don't know. Maybe she has some sort of PTSD towards him or other dudes. It's not explained why she starts...
maybe she just has an illness, and like that's why
maybe she's just like a comedic barf girl. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe these people are just really into barf.
Maybe the author is really into barf. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, might just be reading too much into this.
Well, yeah. Episode 2 showed that there's a lot of crazy people in this prison. The one chick smuggled in her phone. Like, it's implied that normally you can't get it in a phone for this school, but she smuggled it in through probably having relations with one of the like counselors or something.
The guards or counselors, yeah.
and her like Shin revealed that her addiction was she was addicted to following idols, like male idols on SNS,
What the fuck?
and then she like found an idol's email address and hooked up with him. But it turns out the idol was like a fake, and
What the
he
fuck?
was using and he was dating other girls just like her and using their money to buy stuff.
Okay.
But she didn't care, and she used her parents' credit card to
So
buy
that's
all
where
this
sort of the
stuff,
problem came from,
and
or whatever.
that's why she's in this prison because she's addicted to idols. And
Well, that's
I don't know.
Who isn't?
I mean, there's kind of a. I'm thinking they're gonna show like different types of internet addiction because the MC he's addicted to games, like game.
So you think it'll most likely be an episodic thing?
No, I mean I want the social commentary to be like there's different types of addictions. There's the girl who's addicted to her phone.
Oh, do you?
and
So you
idols.
want them to focus on the addiction, huh? Okay.
I hope. And then there's the MC who's addicted to first.
Because I thought the commentary would be on, on the necessity of the whole like addiction prevention, right, rather than on the types of addictions. Because the whole point is like
I want to see like different types of addictions. Make it a good documentary. Like this chick's addicted
No,
to her
I mean,
phone.
again, like if it was like that, that would be interesting. But I thought the brunt of the series would be on
I
the
can't
necessity.
Tell where this is going.
Like
Like the opening doesn't tell me anything either. It's like
it's just super.
it's super fake. Like
Yeah.
the MC's in chains, then he breaks the chains, and then he's like, there's like these imposing figures.
The chains are broken.
All of his other classmates, and then he fights them, and like that's it. Like what does this tell me?
Isn't that like a lot of like Chinese series these days? Like even with the fantasy, what is it? The one with the virtual gamer thing, like the pro gamer thing, that was like also with like the dude just like fighting everything.
The King's Avatar, yeah, but he has a goal where I'm going to rejoin the pro league and
yeah, but I mean that sort of made sense. But it's like this thing is also like he's like fighting everybody in the opening or whatever.
Like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah,
he hasn't shown any signs so far of I'm going to escape this prison camp, because they portray the MC as like this weak guy. Like, I mean, you know the term beta male has been throwing around. He's kind of like that.
So you think? I mean, any last words? I guess overall on this series, and I mean, you're definitely going to watch it to see how it sort of expands.
It's a morbid curiosity.
But
I want to see I want to see the fabled electroshock therapy.
Electroshock therapy, yeah.
To ruin them of their internet addiction.
So, if you had to give like a quick sort of probability on how likely you think it is that the series is going to go into the type of social commentary you want, how high do you think the chances are?
Probably not. I don't know. It's based off a web manga, and I'm not gonna read it. I read enough Chinese web mangas already.
Okay, that's reasonable. All right.
I mean, some people might compare it to probably Batum or Prison School with the whole like prison aspect and how the MC is a psychopath and he's.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Well, like he has no goal at all. I mean, even Prison School, the main dudes had a goal to, after they got into prison to get revenge and get out and do whatever. But the MC, he's pretty, like he's wallowing in his despair. My mom, my mom put me in here. I'm gonna be here until I'm 18, and like he doesn't get any visitors. He doesn't get any like breaks at all. He's in there for an entire year. Unlike like other people who will get breaks and visitors.
Right. Okay, so I guess
like I'm just babbling nonsense because I have no idea where this series is going. And
no, that's why I'm also hoping that if you can,
an update.
After some more episodes have passed, if you can later podcasts, if you can just give us a quick recap, I think that would be pretty enjoyable.
Sure.
Because if it does end up becoming again sort of the type of series that you described with the social commentary, with sort of like more interesting things about addiction being explained, that'd be pretty nice too.
If someone dies from a beating or electroshock therapy, I'll be the first to shout
Yeah,
out.
you'll let us know. Okay, all right.
The
And
series
with
is weird. I can't. At
that,
least it's better than Osama Game.
well,
Maybe.
that's not a high bar, but anyways.
Is this the Mayoiga of this season?
Shut up, dude. All right, with that, we're gonna move on, and we're going to start covering the news again. Usually, we try to cut. I'm gonna start trying to cut the news a little bit shorter these times around to see how it goes, and we're gonna start off with IG Port. IG Port, the parent company of animation studios Production IG, Wit Studio, Zebek, Signal MD, and publisher Mad Garden. They're all they're sort of under this one big umbrella company. Released a report for the first quarter of this fiscal year, June 1st to August 31st, on Friday. The report showed a net loss for the period. The company reported consolidated sales of 2.1 billion yen, a 67.4% increase compared to the same period last year. However, the company reported an operating loss of 226 million yen, an ordinary loss of 198 million yen, and a net loss of 178 million yen. The company had reported net profits for the same period last year. The shift, as in like the loss, is particularly pronounced in IG Port's video production companies. Production IG, Wit Studio, Zebek, and Signal MD had total sales, which were like 230% of last year's total. However, it had a net loss of 240 million. The company cited the increased cost of producing high-quality content. So again, these are not small companies. Like Production IG and Zebek are like some of the bigger names out there. I mean, what do you guys think? So, oh wait, let me talk about some of the other stuff. It's like IG Port's publishing industry, as in like paper stuff, saw a 37.6 decrease in sales and a 90.5% decrease in profits to 11 million yen. IG Port saw a 17.4 increase in sales for its copyright industry, and the copyright industry turned a profit of 47 million yen. Key franchises included Kuroko no Basket, Ghost in the Shell, Attack on Titan, and Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. So it's doing a lot of sort of, good money making off its big names, former names, I guess. For other industries, including merchandise and smartphone games, IG Port had sales of 53 million yen, a 22.1% decrease from last year, and a net loss, 27 million yen. So what do you guys think of this? They're kind of losing. I mean, this sort of umbrella company is like sort of losing on like a lot of fronts, except for copyright. But again, it's surprising to see that there was such a huge sort of turn from last year, where they apparently had a profit of the anime stuff, but now they're having like pretty big operating loss, even though there's a very significant increase in sales. So, what do you guys think?
Damn. That sucks. Too many butt frames on Keijo, dude. So that's what happened. I can see why there would be a net loss here. Because like, oh damn. As far as what I've seen from Keijo, some of it was like pretty high quality. So it's like a lot of these things do like kind of shows that aren't really going to turn a huge profit.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty decently high quality recently, it seemed. That's unfortunate though. That's like pretty damning, honestly. I don't think it's gonna. I imagine they have enough of a surplus to keep themselves alive, but.
All right.
That is not a that is not a good sign.
When's the Dragon House anime?
When's the next season of Naruto, Zebek?
Yeah,
I don't think they need another season.
Do you think this is reflective of sort of the industry in general now? I mean, obviously, maybe a lot of the problems with the high production costs is like one thing, but do you think it's like representative?
Maybe they should choose better series.
Well,
Well-
that's easier said than done, but
Why don't they just make more Kuroko and Attack on Titan?
yeah,
well,
why
that's
don't
what's
they
making them money.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the copyright thing, right?
Just like how UFO Table makes Fate stuff, and that makes the money.
I mean, it's
Night Moon's been doing Fate stuff for 10 plus years,
A
and they make
nine-
money.
Yeah,
And they're not
but
gonna
there's
stop.
no
a 90.5% decrease in profits in its publishing. Is that what I'm reading right?
yeah, 90.5% decrease in profits.
Holy shit!
Trees are out of date. Everything's
Remember
on internet
a lot of
nowadays.
Oh well, this is physical publishing, right? Like, this
yeah,
is like-
remember a lot of them went through digitalization, so
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So
Make sure you
I
don't
think
get
this
addicted
is
to
kind of
the
reflecting.
internet.
Yeah, this is probably reflecting a idea that print is kind of dead. For that at least. Like, it's interesting to see that in Japan is kind of the case as well. For me, the way I read manga when I used to, shocking, I read. Who would have thought?
reading.
Um,
What the fuck?
I don't anymore though. I gave it up. I gave it up for Lent long ago.
Yeah, that's
Never
what I was
took it
about to say,
back.
actually.
But I used to read through like my phone or a tablet or something. Actually, not a tablet at all. I used to read through my phone through illegitimate sources because God forbid I'd be able to actually buy things, even when I want to. So I could understand people who actually have legitimate access to like these things digitally would easily buy it digitally instead of physically.
All right.
What about like tankobons? Are those still doing well, or are these like individual like chapters? I think
What do you mean?
tankobons would do well still. 'cause-
Tankobons probably do well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in general, this is a decrease of profits. So even if those are doing well, it doesn't really matter because it's not enough to offset the fact that everything else is dead. I think we might then see a push towards that, though, Toast,
I mean,
where they only release like larger things,
I
like a
prefer
full
that.
series, stuff like that. Well, I think a lot of people do. I think that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, a lot of people would rather have the. I'm shocked that this hasn't happened with BDs. Like, I'm shocked BDs actually sell still. And it's not like people don't give a shit unless it's like the full package. With like maybe some special stuff, even if it's minor.
So, I guess overall, like we'll kind of. I mean, Production IG and Zebag are such classic studios. Like I kind of would hate to see them go if this really kind of is more serious. I mean, it looks serious, but it's like if it does become really serious and they start kind of like
they could just
compartmentalize
stick to
Well,
anime.
it's serious in so that it's like maybe they can cut back on they cut back on actual physical publishing a lot. Like,
I mean,
they don't
a
release
big
lot
part
physical
of
things.
their loss is also in their just production company, animation production though. That's the problem. So it's like,
Well, yeah, I
wonder
think the
if they'll
thing.
just consolidate to doing like in between stuff or like second animation production or whatever. But I do hope that they don't, or like they'll either find some technologies or like the labor market will shift somehow. But it's like it's kind of unfortunate, honestly.
I hope they don't. And at the same way, I think that they can find more value in their copyright.
Mhm.
Like 2.02 million increase is really not that much. Like this year for series like Kuroko no Basket, Ghost in the Shell, Attack on Titan, and Cabaneri alone.
That's
You
true.
would expect to be worth more, especially Gits at this point. Maybe not after that movie, but you'd expect that they make money off of that.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
decent chunk off of that. Yeah, like the copyright thing, I feel I'd like to see more about and see a bigger breakdown. Because I feel like that is odd that is that low. Because that's not even just those 4 series. It's for
No. The thing is, like, the sales were like 2.2 million US dollars, but the profit was $500,000.
Yeah, like that's shocking.
That's like there's some weird overhead shit going on there, maybe, but I don't know.
And then the smartphone thing is just like, personally, I think that, well, merchandise is going to decrease over time for some of these things in general, because what have they really put out recently? Like this year that has been like popular. Like no one's buying Attack on Titan shit. Like, okay, season 2 came out. People who wanted the Attack on Titan stuff had it from season 1. Nothing has changed that much yet in the anime. For it to really sell more merchandise, I think.
Right.
From what I understand, like it's still like, oh, what do you own? You own the cloak? The cloak's the same in season 2. So I think they're gonna have to wait a little bit more on that, or it's just like they gotta have something bigger for it to not decrease at this point. They have to put out something that gets notoriety. That hasn't been consistent notable. There's only so many T-shirts someone will buy from the same show. So
that's true.
That is a decrease. Smartphones, I feel like smartphone games are becoming bloated even for Japan at this point, so that's not a surprise to me either.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah. Anyways, next on the news list, we have a little bit about Anime Tamago. Anime Tamago is so Anime Tamago, formerly Anime Mirai Project, began streaming a promotional video for this year's project on Friday on their official site. The video reveals each anime short's visual. The official website for the project has also revealed each anime story. So half the works on this site will also be 3D CG works. There are 6 companies doing 6 shorts. As in previous years, the anime shorts will train young animators on the job, part of the Japanese government's Agency of Cultural Affairs, quote-unquote, Young Animator Training Project. As before, all the shorts will be shown next year. The Japanese government's Agency of Cultural Affairs launched its Young Animator Training Project in 2010 with the aim of fostering the growth of domestic animation studios and tackling the concern that more of the Japanese animation process is being outsourced overseas. The project has spawned such works as Little Witch Academia and Death Billiards, which inspired the Death Parade television anime. The anime Tamago 2017 shorts all screened in theaters in Tokyo in March and April. So there's also, the selection committee of the shorts, as well as the listing of, the different anime. Again, you can find it on the Anime Tamago site. But the thing is, it's like, I want to talk a little bit more about talk a little bit on the reason why Anime Tamago popped up in the first place, which is the whole like outsourcing thing, which again we've also covered on our podcast. But I think obviously there's also, I mean, the outsourcing thing is of course dangerous because outsourcing to subcontractor studios and like other places that are going to do it pretty cheaply is always a danger, especially now China and Korea and the Philippines are all kind of getting into it, and Thailand are all sort of getting into it, right? But I think also the bigger issue with the animation market, and maybe it's also part of the operating costs and the struggles with the animation studios. It's just that being an animator itself is not really like, I mean, like beyond I like drawing, so I want to do it. Beyond that, it's not very appealing, right? As a career, as a job, as the salary, the sort of like living conditions. We've all like heard the horror stories, starting salaries like fucking 9, 10K, 15K a year or something like that. Living day to day, eating nothing, right? People dying of overwork at very like well-known studios, right? So, I like the idea of this, but I just feel like there's so much more the Japanese government could actually do fix the actual labor market with regards to the animation industry, and then maybe people will just naturally come in, and we wouldn't have to worry about outsourcing so much, right? So I don't know. Like if there's more like obvious available talent, like it's not like people will just automatically like companies will be more incentivized to actually pick Japanese animators because it's easy in the first place than just being like, okay, we'll just outsource it to the cheapest thing because there's whatever, right? So I don't know. It's kind of like a struggle because it's like there's so many problems in this fucking animation industry. Just from like even just looking at it from the outside, right? Like there's competition overseas, mixing, crossing streams. That is, mixing with the Chinese companies, mixing with Western companies and Western production stuff. It's not always clean. There are problems with the pay sort of gap, and I guess the pay in general in the animation industry, anywhere from the writers to the production people. Like top producers only get paid like what is it, like 40K, 45K or something like that, stuff like that. And so there are like problems all over, and it's a huge mess, I think. What do you guys think, Dark Toast?
I mean, it's gonna be hard to really like solve something like this, obviously. I think a lot needs to happen with the anime industry, because it's like they pay these animators so little, and outsourcing and looking. I mean, obviously, like looking inward is really one of the only things they can really do. Mm-hmm. I know we had talked about a news story not too long ago where it was like, oh, this program for animators outside of Japan to come in, learn, and become animators in Japan. They're going to be more open to have, like non-Japanese people working on like anime and stuff like that. And I'm like, and I brought up the point immediately, like, yeah, and then they're going to find out that they're making $10,000 a year, and
yeah, exactly,
because even you could run coffee in the States and have more of an earning than that. Mm. I don't know about the cost of living in Japan, but if it is similar to the States, then it's like you may as well just come back here,
right.
Or anywhere else in the world that isn't not great. So I feel like this is kind of one of the only options to really like try and get do more with that. But I think a big thing that anime also do and publishers do a lot faster now is make this more accessible through yourself. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't have to go to Crunchyroll to watch something with subs. I shouldn't, or if you're in Japan, you should not have to go to what's it called? Like, you shouldn't really need to struggle to find anime in Japan to easily buy for relatively cheap, digital.
Yeah, so it's like the digitalization, and also sort of how it's much less of a bottleneck, but it is still a bottleneck right now in Japan with regards to selling stuff overseas, and the overseas market I think has just so much money and potential, right?
Yeah. Well, even not just overseas, it's like even if you're in Japan, I can't imagine that pirating anime in Japan isn't also a huge like a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I could buy shit here, I'd buy it. Like I'll buy it if it's easily accessible. It's mostly never. So it's like obviously like I can't buy this thing. So why won't? So it's like what am I gonna do? I'm gonna watch it. I can't buy it.
Right. It's literally like, and also even if I could buy it, and it's like if it's not in like English, then like a lot of times it's not that useful to me, right?
Yeah. Then what the hell's the point? Like,
right.
I still can't experience it to begin with.
Right.
But I imagine that's also kind of an issue. Like pirating, it's also an issue in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about how like other streaming services for anime in Japan, but if there isn't, there needs to be more and an easy centralized one. There basically needs to be like a Steam
aggregation sites. Aggregation sites.
Yeah. Like there needs to be an easy place for people to access this and pay for it. Easier than download. Or just as easy. No. Because Crunchyroll has a very limited selection in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah, it's based on their stuff. But,
And they're not really in. I don't think they even have much of a presence as a streamer in Japan.
Netflix?
No, Netflix is even more limited.
Netflix.
No, but
It's
I mean
kind of-
in Japan though.
yeah.
Japanese Netflix.
I don't even know what that is. Like what that is. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't really know how streaming services work there and how good they are or how bad they are.
They have
Like,
Rick
if
and
there are-
Morty in Japan.
They have streaming services they have a decent number of like streaming services, but a lot of the services are a bottleneck in terms of like bandwidth usage, like limitations. So like much more so than YouTube.
That makes it even worse because then it's like, am I gonna watch this streaming service that's terrible, or am I going to go to a site that literally, like, let's put it this way: even Crunchyroll is very guilty of this. Their player is terrible.
Mhm.
Piracy sites and streaming sites have better video players than Crunchyroll that are more functional and more stable. Like that's pathetic. And why would I pay for your service when not only do you have a limited selection, there's all the other shit that has wrong with Crunchyroll, but then the most basic thing about your site is also worse. Like I'm not gonna go there.
The point, like the literal, like entire point about your site.
Yeah, is worse than the illegitimate.
Yeah, I get that. It's a very holistic problem that needs to be addressed in Japan, and I hope it gets addressed in a slightly smarter manner in the future. But yeah, we'll have to see. Moving on. These next ones are much lighter, I guess.
Speaking of light, novel.
Yeah, like, so there are two things I want to rant about, I guess. The first one is manga creator Kenjiro Hata revealed on Twitter last week that he has already written 6 chapters of a new manga series. He did not share a title or details on when the manga will debut. Hata is the author behind Hayate no Gotoku, the series that ran for entirely too long and went on for seemingly no reason.
It's over?
Yeah, it was over a while back, I believe.
What was the conclusion?
I don't know. It didn't even matter. The conclusion doesn't even matter, right? Because it just went on for so long without doing anything. But
the last I checked, he became a battle manga, and I'm like, what?
No, they were like trying to get like the gems or something like that, like whatever
I
the
don't
gems.
even know what you're talking about.
Whatever. But anyways, fuck this author. Do not give him money. Do not read his manga. It's bad.
It's been what, like 20 years, I think?
It was... No, with Hayate no Gotoku?
Yeah, how long was that?
It started in 2004, apparently, so
really?
lasted for 13 years.
Which is
much longer than any series that's like Hayate no Gotoku should ever last. Like, a relationship between a butler and a tsundere voiced by Kugi Miyori should never ever last 13 years. That's not a thing.
How long was Zero no Tsukaima?
Zero no Tsukaima? There's no way it was beyond 10 years, right?
Dang.
I mean,
what about
before the author died, it was definitely not like that many years, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so the author. Oh, so it started in 2004, and the author died on 2013. So.
9.
No. Okay, wait. The volumes were between 2011, 2004 to 2011. So technically, it was like 7 years or whatever. That went on. But anyways, point is, it shouldn't last that long. The other thing I want to rant about is, yes, Toast. You want to cover this?
What? Cover what?
Data Live?
What about it?
Data Live is getting a new anime. It's getting a third fucking series, and it's...
What animation studio?
That's actually a good question. Let me see this. Data Live Light Novels. Koshi Tachibana announced on Twitter on Saturday that a new anime series is in the works for the franchise. Oh, God. I don't know, but it's probably AIC, right? Because the last time AIC took it, right?
I hope that it goes up to the big Shido reveal arc in the light novels.
I hope that they all fucking die, or rather, some other girl gets better development, and Toka stops getting development and stops getting free wins
Your
because she
japes,
appears at the end of the novel.
your japes are funny. Toka
In a the anime,
is the main one.
Toka's so fucking dumb. Anyways,
He named her. She's Tokubetsu to him.
shut up, dude. But yeah, Data Live, Harem One Comic Series.
Nice.
If you're interested in, if you're interested in it, don't read it. It's not
If you're
actually that
interested in it, watch. Make
Um,
sure you play the 2
Tom-
Data Live games and the
Shut
movie
the fuck up, dude.
before
I
you
know.
do that.
The routes or whatever, like the Suzuku like fan disc parts for Data Life, I watched those a little bit. Those are actually like pretty funny because they show like different like alternate what if situations.
You just
Yeah.
like the origami in that swimsuit with dog ears part. You pervert.
No, that one's pretty shitty. I like the one where she does the the one where she does the Does one, and I like the one where Kurumi does the
The wedding
Kurumi X.
dress one, you pervert.
No, that's not the wedding dress one. That's something different. Kurumi does also like one where she pretends to be like a hikikomori or like a
That's
NEET.
from the games. It's from the
Yeah,
games.
you just said the games. What are you talking about?
I thought you were talking about like the OVAs. Like
No. I'm
the
talking about the
spin-offs.
games. I'm talking about the games.
Oh.
But
What
yeah,
about the one where Toka had her hair up and was acting like a teacher and she was wearing
no,
glasses.
Toka's
That was pretty
fucking
cool.
terrible character anyways, so why does it matter? You're like, what about that one? It's like, no, Toka's terrible. But yeah.
You're
So if you're
entitled to
interested,
your
check
wrong
the games out.
opinion, Spire. It's okay.
Shake my head. But yeah, if you're interested, just check the games out. Everything else is pretty terrible. But anyways, last piece of news. This one I just again we don't usually do that much stuff, but I wanted to point this out just because it's a funny name. The official Twitter account for Kadokawa's Fantasia Bunko light novel imprint announced on Saturday that Seiji Ebisu's 俺が好きなの妹だけど妹じゃない or known in English as The One I Love is My Little Sister, but she's not a little sister light novel series.
What does that mean?
That's right. Okay, so the awkward sibling romantic comedy series centers around the younger sister Suzuka Nagami and the older brother Yu Nagami. Suzuka is a beautiful third-year middle school student who has excellent grades and is the student council president. She wrote a novel about a little sister who dotes on her older brother, and the novel wins a light novel award. After they discuss the matter, Yu is the one who debuts as a proxy light novel author instead of Suzuka under the pen name Chikai Toano. So, yeah, that name though. Anyways,
Like, what
It just-
is she? Is she like a Jujin or like is she
What?
from
What are you doing?
Isekai?
No. She's regular, but she's just like shy or whatever. I guess it's like shy sibling rom-com
How can
stuff.
she be a little sister and yet not a little sister?
That's there's actually a moment in Anime Guitars where they pointed this out. There was like, it's like popular these days for light novels to have long titles, and I was like, no. It's not a technique that these authors use, like to have long titles that makes no sense. It's because they're lazy and they don't want to go through the trouble of picking a cool title.
It is a cool. It is a cool title. The longer it is.
No, it's what
It
the,
is.
what the fuck are you doing?
What's a cool light novel that has a short title?
Overlord?
Damn, got him already.
What about Isekai Smartphone or Boku no Hea? Blah blah blah.
But
Or
I mean, that's
Irene
not bad
credited as an
because of the
onsen.
title. But it's like if you have what is it like Arifureta Shogyokyu the Sekai Saikyo or like some
Gross.
like fucking like ridiculous long name. It's like what is it? It's like what is this bullshit? Let me go through some web novels here.
What about if for my daughter I will defeat the Demon King or something?
Yeah,
like
Uchi Musume or whatever.
That's a good
What
one.
came to mind during my third time in another world was For Now, Get Naked. Like, these titles are just like so lazy. They're so lazy, and it's not a technique. It's just people just.
It is a technique because people will come up with a nickname for it. and shorten it, and it'll
What,
be
what are you
memorable that
talking
way.
about? Why do you need nicknames for it? The reason why nicknames exist because the titles are so long, people don't want to say them. If you did,
Exactly.
if
It's
you,
more memorable to say a nickname than it is to say the full title.
what do you mean? You could just have the title be good, and then
How
people
many
would
people
say the
say?
specific
How
title.
many people say Draque instead of Dragon Quest? It's a popular thing in Japan to shorten titles, so
But it
they're like,
doesn't gain
whatever.
popularity because it has a nickname.
It does.
Dragon Quest is popular and it has a nickname. That's like a consequence of it being
It's
popular.
because it has a long name that it gets a good nickname.
It doesn't even have
It does.
a name.
Why do you
It's
think
Dragon
Boku no
Quest. What the
Boku wa
fuck?
Tomodachi ga Tsukunai is called Haganai, and
Yeah,
or
but it's
or
not popular because it's called Hagadai,
why do
dude.
you think they call Sword Art Online SAO?
All right,
Why do you think they call Overlord over?
over, just over,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what
just
it called.
over. But yeah, fucking people with
Why do you think they called? Is it wrong? Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Danmachi. It's popular to
yeah, it's
shorten
made popular by the nickname. You're right,
things
Toast.
down to 2 syllables.
Oh, Jesus. But yeah, hopefully, these weird light novel titles will go away sometime soon because fuck that. But anyways, with
I
that,
got one piece of news.
what, what, what is it?
If you didn't know, you can get the chance to watch Heaven's Feel in
That's watch
theaters
theaters.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also announced I didn't put this out, but they did also announce a 2018 release for the second part of the Heaven's Feel film. So if
Wow.
anybody's interested in that, you
Wow.
can check it
Thanks
out.
for spoiling it for me, jerk. That's an after credit scene.
All right.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
if you want to watch Heaven's Feel, Aniplex is selling tickets on their site in select theaters.
yeah. Some of the theaters are already sold out, though, so you do have to be pretty quick on the money. But again,
There's
just
screenings
check
and
it out there.
you gotta go to their English site and check out if you can still buy tickets.
Yeah.
Supposedly
Okay.
they're on November 4 and 7 at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
I got a screening on November 4, so
Yeah.
you won't see me on the podcast, suckers. I'll be watching
All
something more important.
right. But so check that out. And with that, we are done with the news.
Okay, goodbye.
The fuck.
See
Uh,
you next week. I might not be here. I'll be watching
uh,
Heaven's Field during the
are
podcast.
you not doing shoutouts and callouts, Toast?
Whoa,
Or what?
Spire, what are the shoutouts and callouts?
All right. Thank you, Toast. The shout out is one thing that you want to praise, put your blessings on, give 5 stars on Yelp, whatever. And it can be one thing, one concept, one trend, one nation, one period in history, anything, any one thing. And the call out is the exact opposite. One thing that you want to insult, rant, flame over, whatever, talk down to. It can be any one person thing, body of ocean, whatever it is. And each
Can it be
person
a
gets
light novel title?
yes, and it can be, and everybody has one shout out and one call out. Dark.
Fuck, why'd you start me?
I'll start.
Okay,
Yes,
Toast.
Toast start.
Okay, Toast, go.
Can I swap my call out for 2 shoutouts? And you can
No.
have 2 call outs and
I
insert-
just said you have one shout out, one call. Toast.
but what if I want to trade with you? You usually have 2 things to call out. I'll trade you for 2 shoutouts.
No, Toast. Actually, I haven't decided my shout out to call out yet. So you
Okay.
need to say your shout out and call out.
My shout out is to Heaven's Feel. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
believe that they're gonna show it like 1 month after the original release date in Japan. Good job.
Mhm.
Do the same for the other 2 or 3 movies.
Mhm.
My call out, I don't got one.
Okay.
My call out is my neighbors that I haven't seen in like 3 months. I'm usually waiting. I'm usually watching them to see like when they take out their dogs, so I can take out mine, so they don't meet up because bad things happen because they're weird.
Okay.
So like they haven't showed up, are you guys okay? Do I need to call the police?
Hmm.
Make sure you're not dead or anything? Just tell me so I can walk my dog without worrying about you guys, old people.
Okay. And I guess if that's your call a shout out, then we can move on here. And
Nier is not here.
yeah, Nier is fucking dead. But yeah, uh, I guess my shout out is to what is my shout out? I
Full
feel
Metal
like I
Panic
had a
Invisible
shot.
War.
What?
The new Full Metal Panic anime coming out in 2018, Invisible War.
No. I guess I kind of don't want to repeat the shout out to like visual novel people, but I do wish that I mean they did quite a good job, but actually no. You know what? My shout out goes to the studio who did Anime Guitars because they did a turnaround. Like you know, they were a fucking meme studio and then they made this. Like that's impressive. Like I wouldn't expect, you know, some second-rate studio, not Cinema Kitris, but who's maybe like 8 hertz or 3 hertz or whatever the fuck, 8-bit, right, or whatever. Um, although 8-bit did some pretty decent audiovisual stuff, but what's like a studio that does pretty mediocre stuff? Uh, and don't say Studio D, like something like
Studio D.
like the people who did like Tiki or some bullshit like that. Like if they just suddenly magically came up with like a pretty good, like audiovisually good, like solid story and everything like that, I'll be pretty impressed. And that's sort of what they did. And so shout outs to them.
TQ is Tokyo MX, isn't it?
Tokyo MX, really? Wait, Tokyo MX isn't like the broadcasting?
Or
Like they directly made
Studio Mappa and Milipensi.
Millipens, isn't that like a London studio or some bullshit like
I
that?
don't know. There's no
Yeah, there's like it's
no
probably
article
some
on
like
Wikipedia.
weird small subdivision. Mappa is not that big, I
So
think.
wait, does that mean TQ's made by British people?
Maybe, I don't know. Um, but yeah, my call out. I just had a call out. Fuck. um, oh yeah, my call out is actually to fucking Idolmaster mobile game events. So I've been on a mobile game like rhythm game mainly.
How much
Idle
did you
Hell
spend?
Binge. I don't want to say.
Do you have an internet addiction? Do we need to send you to a
Yeah,
internment camp?
the internet camp. Yeah, um, but I've been going through a lot of these rhythm games recently, and recently one of the main Idolmaster mobile games, Idolmaster Million Live Theater Days, has had this really stupid fucking event where by some like they create a whole very strange set of rules, which ended up being like the optimal. So people found out the optimal way to play the game was to actually just spam it on the easiest setting like a million times, which is like super boring and takes forever. And nobody wants to do it except if they want to be actually, you know, winning at the event. So everybody is like complaining and it's like really stupid and nobody wants to do it. So fuck the people at, you know, the theater days devs for doing this sort of shit. Don't fucking do that. Just scale the event points properly, please. So yeah. That's my fucking call out. And Dark, shout outs and call outs, please.
Good question. I don't know what to. Fuck. I was gonna shout out the studio that you shouted out.
You can shout out
But
Full Metal
I guess
Panic Invisible War.
No. Instead, I think I'll. Shit. This is bad. I
What
don't
about
know.
your WoW character that you were talking about or whatever? Black Desert Online.
Oh, I mean, I'm playing BDO right now. Yeah, shout out to BDO for being like an okay game. They apparently added some survival mode thing that's like kind of an end game thing, so that's kind of cool. I hope it gets more instant gameplay because MMOs actually need that. A lot of people like to be like, "Oh, it's instance. That's not as fun." No, they need instant gameplay at some point. So shout outs to that. I hope there's more, and I hope this game continues to get better.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good game.
Okay. And your call out?
Damn, that's a good question. Calling out Nier because he wasn't
Two very
fucking
good questions.
I'm calling out Nier and I'm calling out you because me and Toast we had a plan. This was going to be a 30-minute podcast,
And then I just like ran in.
hey, you ran in here, you ruined it all. It's going to be
I just had
podcast
to start the official
78.5,
podcast.
and we were talking about Chinese internet games.
Chinese
We were going to
internet
probably
games.
talk about some other weird shit. It would have been pretty cool.
Oh, Jesus.
But instead, we had to have a real podcast.
Yeah. Jesus. So, I guess with that, we'll end the podcast. Again, thank you all so much for listening, both on live stream and to the listeners out there listening to the recorded podcast. We do this every other Saturday, starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays at live recording at twitch.tv/4PlayerAnimecast with a number 4, where we talk about the latest and greatest in anime, manga, light novel, web novels, whatever, blah blah, Japanese animation related merch slash media. And if you do like what we do, please follow us here as well as on social media. On Twitter at 4PlayerAnimecast is our handle, and on Facebook our page 4PlayerAnimecast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel 4PlayerAnimecast. And also go to our website where we have all of our content on various forums, as well as our interviews, sidecasts, main podcasts, whatever. We do live reactions, we do, visual novel run-throughs. We run the gamut, and it's all available there. Of course, we have our recordings available on Twitch, YouTube, as well as on MP3 for your listening pleasure on the go. It's available on iTunes as well as Google Play Music, so you can download it on there whenever it gets updated. So yeah, check us out there. Again, next time we'll be probably doing it on the 4th, which is again the Heaven's Field debut. So Tosto's probably not going to be here, but
we're just late.
Yeah, we're just late. But we're probably going to be covering a lot more of the fall 2017 season. There's a lot of series going on. I mean, there's a lot of series every season, but this season has a lot of things that seems easily pick up upable. So we'll be looking forward to that. And with that, we'll see you next time.